But today we have Judge Kathleen Hamilton of the 259th District Court.
That's okay.
It's a typo, sorry. 359. We don't spend a lot of time in court. But the 359th District Court, and she's going to talk about what you do, the kind of court it is, just anything about it, and then hopefully take some questions. So please help me welcome Kathleen, Judge Kathleen Hamilton.
Okay. Thank you so much for letting me come speak to you and asking me to do that. Just a real quick background, because this can get real boring real fast, but I was born in Houston, moved to Magnolia when I was a freshman in high school, graduated from that high school, married, went to Texas Tech, met my husband there and married him, and that was 41 years ago. We were only 3 at the time. It was in all the papers. Everybody voted on it. But anyway, we have 3 children. We have a graduate from Sam Houston State, one from Baylor, and one that we think will graduate from someday from A&M. He has become the Dr. Phil of A&M. I think he's more interested in helping others than in going to class, but I think he's straightened up. He met someone, and she has made only A's at A&M, and one of the other sons said, "Mom, if you have to pay her, she can't break up with Joseph." Not till he's graduated. She's a very good influence. I have a master's in French, a bachelor's in French, studied at the University of Paris and taught French in high schools and at Texas Tech for about 10 years. And then one day in the middle of the hallway, I remember where I was standing, got this brilliant idea to go to law school. I was 32 years old when I went to law school, so about 10 years older than most of the other crowd that were running around there. Graduated from U of H Law Center, and then was 10 years a prosecutor. Jack Summers, Oscar Summers, that just sitting back there, was in the county the county attorney's office with me when Jim Dozier was the county attorney, and Dan Rice and that whole group was running around. That was in the 80s, the late 80s. Went on to the DA's office and ended up being the first assistant DA there. And
when we were 16.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Jack. And then went to work for the Women's Center, was their managing attorney. Family violence has always been a very special thing to me. It's always been very intriguing. Started speaking and lecturing and writing on family violence probably in '87 or so, and still do that to this day. I am the chair of the curriculum committee for the Texas Center for the Judiciary, which plans all the education for your Texas judges. So I'll be going to a meeting with them, and then I work on the team that teaches all of your new judges. Every December, all that group that's just come in, we do the College for New Judges. In the 359th, it's located in Conroe, 207 West Phillips. It's on the 3rd floor of the building that has J.D. Lambright's office in it, and Brett Ligon's office, so the county attorney and district attorney are both there. And we are the building where you have early voting when you go to vote early downtown Conroe. So we're on the 3rd floor. That courtroom belongs to you, so you're welcome to come anytime and see what is going on. And I'm going to give you some specific times that you might want to stop by and see something that's happening. Mark Bosma helps keep all of our courts running very well over there, as does Barbara Damick. The 359th is still a court of general jurisdiction, which means I still hear everything. I hear family cases. Those are divorces mainly. Adoptions are our happiest moments in the courtroom for that. A couple of years in a row, I was the National Adoption Day judge for Montgomery County and had the honor of having all those children running everywhere, a courtroom full of balloons and teddy bears and literally a circus going on outside in the street, and food and everything. These were all children who are placed by CPS in foster homes, and the families and the children have fallen in love with each other, and so we have very, very happy moments in there. The other thing that I hear is civil matters, typically those that are in excess of $200,000. These may be car accidents or malpractice suits or real estate matters. Also criminal. In district courts, we only hear, I know you've heard from Judge Wood before, so she probably let you know this, but we only hear felony matters. Felonies are things, criminal matters that can send you to prison, not just to the Montgomery County Jail. Those are misdemeanors. And the misdemeanor judges, county courts and law judges hear those. But we hear the felonies, so they send you the lowest felonies, a state jail felony, 180 days to 2 years, all the way up to capital murder. That's our only capital felony. And that punishment range is life in prison without parole or death by lethal injection. I have had probably 6 or 7, 8, maybe capital murder cases. None of them have gone to trial. They've all pled to a life sentence in prison without parole. So I've not had the ominous task of determining. Judges cannot give the death penalty to a defendant. A jury has to do that. A judge cannot do that. But the ominous thing that a judge must do is to set the date of execution. And I don't know how you do that. Anyway, they warned us in judges school to set that date far enough out that all of the appellate processes run, because whatever date you set, 2 groups of family are going to be looking at that date hard and long on the calendar. The victims, of course, and then the family that may be victims of their own, of the defendant who made the worst possible choice. So we do civil, we do criminal, we do family. I picked up juvenile about 1.5 years ago, and that is a whole world of its own. I could write a book on that, because not in a normal criminal docket, I have the defendant and his attorney standing before me. In a juvenile docket, I've got the whole family. And I can't tell you how many times I could have released a child from detention, but for mom just tested positive for cocaine and dad standing in front of me high on marijuana or meth. And I've had a child look over at the parents and say, "How could you do this to me?" And it got as quiet as this. "How could you do this to me?" I thought, if I could bottle that expression and bottle those words and that feeling. But anyway, so civil, criminal, family, juvenile. I did drug court for 8.5 years, the adult drug court, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I let go of it to do the juvenile drug court. It's very hard to let go, and then I've done the DWI court, I think, for 6 years now. So we stay very busy in that courtroom, but it's your courtroom, and you can always come and watch things. And one thing that you might want to come see is DWI court. It's on Monday evenings. I start at 5 o'clock and go until 6. I would do night court if I could, because I'm a night person, but I think we start looking like the series Night Court, if any of you are old enough to know that. It's going to get a little bit goofy toward the evening hours. I wanted to take you on a tour. I've kept a journal since I was sworn in January 1st of 2003. This is my 11th year in office, and I keep a journal which I hope will be used by a psychologist or psychiatrist someday to figure out what happened to me. Because if I remember, it was that Tuesday back there. That's when everything changed for. But anyway, so I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go through some of these things because dockets are just, who cares? I mean, the numbers that I have, we've got big numbers in that court, probably holding about an 1,100 case load right now, counting civil, criminal, and family. And juvenile cases, there are 1,200 of those filed every year. I have 530 juvenile children right now. They're between the ages of 10 and 17 that I am watching over, and we have 680-something pending cases, so for juvenile alone. But there is a whole lot that goes on in that courtroom. I'll guarantee you, if you ever have a boring moment and your car is anywhere near the 359th, please come up. We have courageous moments. I will never forget, I've been on the bench about 9 months, and I'm doing a criminal docket, and I look out into the audience, and we're at the end of the docket, and there's one person sitting out there, and she has long blonde hair and blue eyes, and she looks like an angel. And I thought, she's got to be somebody's girlfriend or wife that's just sitting in the courtroom. I called the last name on the docket. It was Audra Kay. And up she came. And her attorney, Jimmy Jones, came up with her. And I thought, what in the world? And I looked at my docket page, and it said intoxication manslaughter. On I guess it was a spring Monday morning at 7:15 in the morning, she was driving her niece to school and drove so erratically that the niece had to reach over and straighten. This is like an 8-year-old niece, had to straighten up the wheel of the steering wheel several times. When the niece got to school, she was so worried about her aunt not making it home that she was almost sick at her stomach, went into the principal's office and asked if she could call to see if her aunt had made it home yet. A nice thing for an 8-year-old to think about in the morning. She had not. Her aunt went down 242, crossed over the median, went into one group of cars head-on. A lady, to avoid her, turned her car and hit a concrete embankment and was killed instantly. Audra Kay kept on driving. She drove on into the second group of cars, and those were able to scatter miraculously. And the third group of cars, when she finally stopped, when her car, which was not big, hit the front grid of an 18-wheeler. She was able to walk out of her car. She was arrested and put in jail, and she was let out on bond, whatever bond had been set. And then in the course of that, she had another one-car accident, and I put her back in jail, and that's where she would stay until her trial. I took away her bond. Audra Kay's story starts way back when she was at Malibu Grand Prix in Houston, which is a race car, little fun race car thing. She had long hair. She's with a group of friends. She leans over, this was years earlier, leans over, her hair gets accidentally sucked into the engine and pulls her neck. She goes to the doctor, she's put on some painkillers, and then long after she no longer needs the painkillers and her neck is healed, she's still taking them because she liked the way that she felt when she was on them. So now we fast forward and she's standing in my courtroom. She ends up entering a plea of guilty, and all that's left for us is the punishment phase. The punishment range for intoxication manslaughter is 2 to 20 years in the prison and up to a $10,000 fine. She has asked that the judge, that I, decide that punishment after hearing the evidence. The woman that she killed was on her way to a second job because her daughter was a teenage daughter who had one baby already and one on the way. And she was working 2 jobs to try to provide for that daughter. The daughter came to court every time with a member of MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and would be in the courtroom listening to whatever was on the docket for the day with that case. We are now in the summertime, and we've had all the punishment, the evidence. We've had a little skirmish out in the hall. Bailiffs have had to separate witnesses for the state from witnesses for her, the defense witnesses. And everything has calmed down, and now it's about 9 o'clock at night, the ceiling fans are turning, and it's very quiet, and I delivered the sentence. And then the daughter of the deceased has a chance to come up and make what's called a victim impact statement. I always ask those victims to sit down at the witness stand, sit down at the chair there, because I don't want them to become so nervous that they might fall over or faint or knees buckle under or something. And I also want to be sure that the defendant, where he or she is sitting, can hear every word they're saying with the microphone that's there. The daughter of the deceased woman sat down and said 3 words. She looked straight at Audra Kay and said, "I forgive you." I thought, "Good, hear that right? What kind of courage? Where did that come from? What part of the bottom of her very body did that sentiment, that thought come from?" She said, "I forgive you. I loved my mother more than anything. I needed her so much, but I forgive you." And I really credit MAD for that, because I think that they had worked with her and talked to her and she had gotten to a place of some peace where she could make that kind of a statement. I do not know that I would ever have whatever it was inside of her that allowed her to say that in my own self. We have very selfless moments of duty. We had a juror on one of our civil juries. It was going into its 2nd week. And she lost her grandmother. The grandmother lived here, but was from New York. All the family was in New York. This juror was the only one really that lived here. She told us that her mother had passed away and that she'd let us know about the arrangements. They ended up, they were going to fly the grandmother to New York. And I said, "Do you need to go to New York to be with the rest of the family?" And she said, "No, my doctor won't let me fly because of my blood pressure. And the hospice worker doesn't want me to go." And I said, "Your grandmother was in hospice, so your grandmother's hospice worker." And she said, "No, mine. She's terminally ill with cancer, responded to jury duty, and was serving attentive and alert every day. Not a word. Had said nothing to anybody." We have bizarre things happen in that courtroom. Putting it mildly, probably. Listen to this statement. "I was closer to my mom before she shot my dad." And that was not a criminal trial. That was a family trial. And that was a divorce about a tractor and a baler still, I think is what that's called. Here's another one. The mother is now living with the father's stepbrother, who has become not only the uncle of this child, but the new stepdad, and the father of her sister, Emily. The mother has a child by the stepbrother, and she was pregnant at the time of the divorce. She's now living with her former brother-in-law. Dad is now living with his ex-wife's best friend, April. I couldn't make this stuff up. And who's taking care of, I'll call her Kim, the child, the grandmother. There's a grandmother from some, grandmothers are the guardian angel in our courtroom. They land from heaven. This was a hearing I'll never forget. This was close to Thanksgiving one year, and there's a petition to adjudicate parentage. Biological mom, and believe me, I'm going to have to refer to these people as this, is here, and there is a gentleman who wants to be named the biological dad, the father. That's a reverse from what we see in a lot of these cases. But anyway, he's brought this lawsuit to get visitation with this baby who's just been born maybe 27 days before this. The hearing is virtually over when I have a real knack for asking that one extra question that unravels everything, that extra little leaf, that piece of paper that needs to be turned, and all of a sudden, all heck breaks loose. And I say to Dad, as they're all getting ready to turn away, well, you're wanting to be able to see the child and have some part in his life. And he and his wife, he has a wife there, say, yes, we do. And that was our agreement. And I said, excuse me? And it turns out that they had some kind of surrogate agreement. And I said, did you go to a doctor who helped you with this? And they said, no, we did it ourselves. I thought, oh my goodness, this is probably going to end up in way too much information. And then, so it's her boyfriend, her mother, and the wife are all there. And his mother stands up in the audience and says, yes, that should be his baby. And after all the stuff that's going on the bench, someone in the far corner of my courtroom stands up and waves his hand. Can I say something? I thought, no. Go ahead. Go on. And he says, I'm the real dad. I thought, oh, no. So now we've got like 4 of them running around, and and this mother saying something about, we did it ourselves. I don't want to hear how you did it yourself. They did it. And then her mother is saying, I was there too. I thought, oh, no, of course you were. Everybody was there. And do you know, I ordered DNA. Guess what? Nobody in the courtroom was the father of that baby. But that baby will be well taken care of because there's about 5 people who want to be the dad. There's drug court and DWI court. I'll get off on that for just a second because those are precious to me. I want to tell you what the effect of drugs are. You hear about this all the time, but I don't think that you can imagine it. As hard as you would fight to get a pillow off of your face if somebody were covering your breathing, or as hard as you would fight to come up from underwater to try to get back up to that air, that is how hard my participants in drug court would fight to have that drug of choice again. In 2004, I added to my duties, I had been on the bench, I guess, starting my 2nd year, the most successful program that I've ever seen designed, and that was the drug court. It's 5 phases, a minimum of 52 weeks. It took everything I had to give that up and scoot it to another judge to take on the juvenile one, but I knew there were just so many hours in the day. There's a study that we just learned about in the National Drug Court Professionals Group, and to show you the difference between powder cocaine and crack cocaine, and how potent the crack cocaine is. Of course, these days we don't know really what all is in it necessarily, but anyway, they did an experiment with rats, and the rats that were given the powder cocaine in 20 days had died of starvation and dehydration with their heads in the food and the water dishes that were full. Crack cocaine, they were gone in 5 days in the same situation, starving to death and totally dehydrated with their heads in water, full bowls of water, and right next to the food dish. So this is who I'm working with. With DWI court, it's even different because the substance that they're abusing is legal. It's not illegal for any of us to possess alcohol. It began at the grassroots with a few people who realized that the old approach was not working. It was a revolving door, in and out and in and out of jail, and something had to stop it. And the something that happens, and the connection also between drug use, I have a little statistic here, drug addiction and crime is supported by numerous statistics. 60 to 80% of all crimes at the state and local level are drug-related, committed by individuals who test positive for drug use at their time of arrest. Drug court brings together everybody being at the same table. We literally are. You have the judge there, you have the probation officers, the prosecutors, defense counsel, drug court staff, the drug testing people, the rehab people, treatment specialists. We are all literally at the same table, and we come to decisions by consensus. So I don't sit at the head of that table. I sit over the side, and we all have an opinion, and we all are able to give that opinion and to talk to the people who are there and to discuss that. It is extremely successful. It works. The Montgomery County Jail spends, it's $52.60 today. Deanne Riley told me from Sheriff Gage's office per day for incarceration. Our Texas prisons are closer to $60 per day. In drug court, we spend $1 for every 10 that is spent in prison or in the jail. And it works. The recidivism rate for those that I place on probation or send to prison is close to 60%, and sometimes higher, but at least 60%. For drug court, we've been able to track it now for about 12 years. We've had our drug court, and our rate is between 4 and 6% of those will reoffend. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And that's not an unusual statistic. You'll find that across the United States. So I truly feel sorry for those who can't get into drug court. It does not accept any violent criminals because they have to work so closely in groups, or a certain level of offense. Third-degree felonies are the ones that we stay with. Second and first are much more serious and usually involve dealing. And we don't want a dealer in drug court. They have all the customers that they want. We don't want to do that. But anyway, children are absolutely the most important thing. If I have to name one thing in that courtroom, I take them into, I'm often asked by the attorneys to confer with children in chambers. And Mr. Lambright, when you were doing family law, you might have had me do that same thing. But I bring a court reporter with me, but I make the parents promise that no one, and I won't release it anyway, will ask for a transcript of what is said. I said, the children have way too much on their shoulders right now, and I'm not going to give them the burden of worrying that they've hurt one parent by telling the judge something bad about them. So I tell the children, no one's going to know what you've said, and you don't have to make this decision. It's all mine. And I never ask them who they want to live with. I'll say, how are things when you're with mom? Or how's it go when you're with dad? Or you could probably give me some other good questions to ask them. I've had children tell me, I said, if you had a magic wand, if I gave you a magic wand right now and you waved it over them, what would you change? Would you change anything? And one little boy said, I would stop their mean words that fall all over me. Is that the title of a book or what? I had two attorneys, you might know Kip Shriver and Laurie Marberger, came to my office one day and asked before the hearing started, could they speak to me in chambers? And so we got back and I said, sure, so that both attorneys are there. One's representing mom, one's representing dad. And I said, okay. And they both just looked at each other. And I said, we don't know how to say this. I thought that it has to do with sex, I'm sure, because that's always, and they can't say it, that's what it has to do with. No. He said, Kent, you go in and tell her. He's like, I don't know how I can tell her this. I thought, somebody's got to tell me what is going on. There's a child involved in this marriage. This is a divorce. You're representing mom, you're representing dad. What is it? I said, I know, they're fighting for the child. And he said, no, Judge. Neither parent wants their child. He's 11 years old and he's autistic. We worked our way through that one. I've had, so many things happen with the children there that it's just really, I wish I had a room of parents. One, he loves, cow dog? Hank, that's exactly, he's read all those books. He loves that. He has this vision in his mind that he will go live with whichever parent it was that lives out in the country. But he doesn't know that that parent truly does not want him to live there. And the mother that really wants him to live there is in a bad situation herself. And I want to go to a room and open it up and say, all right, Roy and Dale, come on out. I've got a good one for you here. Take care of this little boy. There, you can, look inside that courtroom. I know my time is probably coming close, but anyway. Don't be fooled by what you see, the tables and chairs and all the things that are there, because the cases that come into this courtroom don't come in alone. I've never seen a petition walk in by itself. This job is truly, truly about people. When I was a trial attorney, long after my client remembered what objection had been sustained or overruled or what motion had been granted, they remembered one thing most of all, and that's how they were treated in that courtroom by the judge. They always remembered that. If the Judge Winfrey used to always say when we would leave, I'd say, may I be excused? And he would always say, only if you promise to come back real soon. Well, he said that to everybody, but my client didn't know that. And they looked at me and they thought, oh, he likes her, he thinks she's a good attorney. But anyway, I will tell you some of the funniest moments have come with the adoptions, and I'm going to leave you on some happy notes here, because you don't want to all be in therapy soon, though it's looking like it's inevitable, probably. But anyway, and that was there was two adoption things that happened that were hilarious. One of the National Adoption Days, the little boy and little girl coming up were 2 of 4 siblings that this family was adopting. They'd already adopted their other 2 sisters. And he's one little boy in a family of 4. And he came up to the front in something I've never seen. He's probably maybe 3 years old, in cowboy tails, a cowboy tuxedo with a little hat. Come on in. With a little hat and the tail, the tuxedo thing, and he comes walking up, and his sister is in lilac. And all the other 2 sisters are there that have already been adopted. They're all under probably 7 years of age, and they're all in lilac. So we have a courtroom full of lilac going on there. And the little boy comes up, and I said, how are you going to handle this with 3 sisters, back in the house with 3 sisters? And he said, I will be their cowboy protector. And I thought, precious, you were outnumbered 3 to 1. You're going to need protection, I think. The other thing was something I'll never do again. After adoptions, they always want to have pictures taken with the judge. And they'll come up, and usually they come around behind the bench, and a child lands in my lap. I have learned to move the gavel and the permanent red markers away. That's another story, but do you know how long it takes to get that out of your skin? But anyway, the gavel, I didn't want to think of what could have happened with that. But anyway, it would have happened to me, though I'm positive. But anyway, she landed on my lap. She's 4 years old, and she put her arm around my neck. All the microphones are on in the courtroom. The courtroom is full of people that had nothing to do with this adoption. They were just waiting for their cases. So all the speakers are on and everything. And she looks at me and says, can I tell you something? What I should have said and what I will say next is, first whisper it to me before we put it on 8 million microphone speakers on you. But anyway, I said, sure, what is it? And she said, you smell good. Now this is a 4-year-old. Do you know how easily it could have been just the opposite? And nothing I could have done to defend myself. So mainly I want you to remember we work hard in the 359th. You are welcome to come there anytime. I will give you our phone number. I meant to bring some cards, but it's 539-7900. It's real easy. 539-7900, 936. Or look it up in the phone book. We're the 359. Call and ask what's going on. We do have a cold case, capital murder case coming up in, I think October is when that will be. And that is, that's an eerie, that allegedly happened 23 years ago. So everyone, including the little 18-month-old, in that case, the allegations are that he sexually assaulted mom in the trailer home and then took the little 18-year-old boy and put him in the truck with him and drove very far away and let him out on a road, an 18-month-old. And a woman was driving home from somewhere is what, and the only facts I know are those from the bond hearing we've already had. But anyway, but in that hearing, the evidence was that she saw this little boy and put him in the car. Meanwhile, he couldn't tell anyone his name or where he was from. And the friend of mom called. She was a stay-at-home mom, had a husband, called and could not get her. And the evidence then was that this friend went and found her at the home but could not find the baby. And thanks to police agencies working together, they were able to match an 18-month-old that they had no idea who was, and this woman who was missing a baby. And so this 18-month-old will come in, I guess, in October at, goodness, 24 and a half, something like that, years old. So it's going to be very interesting. We had a drug case the other day that ended. There was a 3-year-old in the house, and nobody knew the 3-year-old's name in this crack house. But anyway, well, with that, you're welcome to come anytime. There's a saying by Mother Teresa said, if we fail to have peace, it's because we've forgotten that we belong to each other. And we see a lot of instances in that courtroom where we realize that we're all part of humanity and that somebody has to step up to the plate. There's a lot of things that need to be done. So with that, are there any questions? Yes?
Oh, I don't usually go first, but I've got to ask for this.
I'm scared of this. I was at another meeting.
I do want to ask you something about lawyers, but first of all, I've known a lot of people from MAD, and I've known a lot of MAD women with a small M. And do you really think, you concluded that I forgive you came from the MAD people?
Well, they helped her. She was young. You know, she was a teenager still. And she had lost her mother, her support, and that MAD person was never without the MAD representative. So I kind of think that they had some influence on her.
You don't have any direct evidence.
No, I don't. I didn't ask that child anything about that.
Well, anyway, the other thing is, you gotta tell us what sentence you rendered in that case.
She received 20 years in prison.
Oh my God! You gave her 20 years? Oh, Lord have mercy. But I gotta ask about lawyers. Because I'm telling you, this is an epidemic, and I want to know, it really does affect everybody.
Okay.
There are so many lawyers now in family courts and in criminal courts that are taking big retainers and jumping off cases. Judge, what's her name? What's her name?
My talk?
My Chuck. I always have trouble. No wonder she's always pissed off at me. But anyway, she did deny a lawyer jumping off a $50,000 retainer. I'm really still mad about that.
Okay.
But are you letting these lawyers just get off the cases when you hear the people complaining, my lawyer took all this money and then walks off the case? What's your position on that, please, Judge?
It would have to depend on the facts, but I can't think of anything. I probably haven't had a situation much like that.
Really?
So I don't know why, but mine all stay together to the end.
Scared of you.
I don't know what they are, but
They
anyway.
like you so much.
I don't know. Yes.
It's tough to listen to this day after day. What keeps you going?
I garden. You know, I come in looking like Scarlett O'Hara with that clump of dirt, saying I'll never go hungry again, with mud all over my face, and dragging a tomato plant here and there. But probably my office, the staff is really. We all seem to have the same warped sense of humor, and we all, we try to find lighter things to think about and to do. But that's probably it. Your faith. We're members of Sacred Heart Church there in Conroe and have been there since, that's where we were married in '72, so it's been a while. But anyway, that is a big part of it. I've always said if I ever have to assign a date to an execution, I'll probably spend the day with a priest that day or something, roaming around just trying to figure out how you do that. I think that's probably one thing that really bothers judges a whole lot if they have a capital murder case like that. Now the one that's getting ready to be tried, the cold case, the state has not announced yet, but the rumor is that they're going for the death penalty in that case. Death penalty changes your case totally. With death penalty cases, you have individual voir dire, and what that means is, and the French pronunciation is voir dire, but in Texas, as a native Texan, I can say it the other way. In your jury selection, in a normal case, just like you're sitting here, that's exactly how you would be in the courtroom. And the attorneys ask you all questions at the same time. In capital murder cases, you're set for appointments. Maybe one of you will come in at 9 o'clock, one at 10:30, one at 1:30, one at 3. And the attorneys get to ask you questions, just one of you at a time, and decide yay or nay on whether you'll be a member of that jury or not at that time, and then you're sent on your way. So sometimes jury selection can take 5 or 6 weeks. A courtroom as busy as mine is, can't shut down for that long, so I have to get visiting judges to help. Our judges in Montgomery County are so good at helping. The collegiality is very good. We help each other out, and I wouldn't doubt that there'd be a whole bunch of them who would say, send your criminal docket over to me, or do something like this, and I'll help do that, because we help each other out that way. But it really freezes that courtroom for a while, so that when we're thinking about maybe the decision will have to be made soon by the state as to whether they're pursuing the death penalty or not with that case. But it will make a big difference in our scheduling from October around then. Often, jury selection may take 5 or 6 weeks, and the trial may take 1. It's interesting, but by the time you get to that point with a capital murder case, it's gone through the arrest process, the probable cause for keeping them there, the grand jury process. It's been filtered and screened down so much that both sides usually have everything ready to go, and it goes pretty clean. So I think that's what I do. I have hobbies. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
As you know, I've got prosecutors in your court 3
Yes.
days a week.
I love them. They're very good.
Thank you, they are very. What comments would you share, what year and a half you've been juvenile judge, what have you seen from your perspective in juvenile court, the nature of the offense?
Okay, you need to come watch. I will let you come into juvenile docket. It's every Friday. It's the whole Friday. From 9 in the morning to 5. We're lucky when we finish by 5 in the afternoon. He knows because his poor prosecutors drag back up there late. But anyway, it's every Friday is juvenile docket, and I will let you come in, and I'll put you in a good spot so that we can, so you can see things. But his prosecutors and the 2 defense attorneys that have a contract through the county to help as defense for indigent defense, those 2 the 3 actually, the other team are board certified in juvenile law. I think they're the only ones in Montgomery County that are board certified in juvenile law. Montgomery County is getting a huge bargain. Those people are doing that job for fractions of what they would charge anything else, and so it was a very good deal. Whoever worked out that contract did a very smart thing. The board of judges approved it. And his 2 prosecutors used to prosecute with these other 2. They're former prosecutors. So they know how to talk to each other. They know what to do next. We don't waste time. It scoots through very efficiently. I think you would all be amazed at what happens in a juvenile docket, and your prosecutors are very good. Those defense attorneys are excellent. So I can't think of anything else. That they know their cases, they know the kids, they know the children. We know which one absconds for 2 weeks at a time and may or may not come back, and all the other things that go along those lines. But anyway. Yes.
I came to, we had a visiting Judge Friday.
Yes, Judge Trapp.
And I don't know, there was only about 12, 14 on the docket. And the reason I came in, I frequently drop in, but I had 2 high school, like they'll be seniors, and I'm wanting to get into the law. And I didn't tell them the nature of the cases. And I think 6 of the 12 or so cases on the docket were aggravated sexual assault of a child.
That is the most shocking thing to me. If you had asked me what I would see the most on a juvenile docket, I would have said possession of marijuana, because that's what I would figure. But I see very few of those cases. Most of those are handled informally very well. The one I see the most of is that a child has sexually assaulted another child. Now let's face it, if you're going to hurt somebody, you usually hit or bite or kick or punch. You don't think of how you could use your private areas to hurt somebody else's. So we had in court the other day, do I have one more minute? I'm gonna have to tell you this. This one killed me. This child, I had to stand up from the bench because I couldn't see her. She was so little down there, and she's 11 years old. That was her birthday, her 11th birthday. And she looks like Shirley Temple. She's got ringlets, she's got a precious little outfit on, and she's got her mother with her and an aunt and her father. Her father and mother are separated, and dad is living with his sister, her aunt. So we have aunt and dad, mom and the child, and she is charged with aggravated sexual assault because she has allegedly sexually assaulted her 4- and 6-year-old siblings. So I am talking to her, and we're trying to figure out, and mom is wanting her to come live with her now. So I did. We took evidence, I heard from the counselors, and we took her out of the home with dad and the aunt, put her in with mom. The other 2 siblings are in grandmother's house so that they won't be running into each other. And I told them, I saw a little look on the aunt's face that made me think, I don't think she likes mom at all. And dad, I know, doesn't, or he'd still be married to her, I guess. But anyway, I wanted the exchange of those things to be perfect. I tell parents all the time, I don't care if you have to become the best Academy Award-winning actor and actress, you will exchange those children as if you liked each other. And your last words, we had to practice yesterday in court. I made a couple practice in court, saying what they would say when dad comes to get the child. Have a great time. You know, I know you'll have fun. And they're going to have to practice it a whole lot of times because they absolutely hate each other and they're very comfortable in that situation. But anyway, here comes the little girl. All right, I'm going to let her go live with mom. The victims, the alleged victims, are safe. Dad, I want you to give, in the kindest of ways, get everything packed up from your and your sister's place and get those over and exchange them, give them back to mom. That was maybe an hour and a half before the docket ended. And most days, JD was talking about a docket with 12. Most days we have like 28 in the morning and 28 in the afternoon. And these are hearings, so, and the whole family, you know, so it takes a while. It is just the last case of the day. The doors, the bailiff's getting ready to lock the doors. And there at the door, I see the mother and this little girl walking back into the courtroom. And she looks exactly like she did when she left, except for one thing. She has no shoes on. There are no shoes. And her mother said, I just want to tell you something. I want to tell you what just happened about a block and a half away from here when we went to the car. The aunt and father came over to the little girl and on the sidewalk there in downtown Conroe said, since you're not going to live with us, give us back the shoes we bought you. And took the shoes off her feet. I went through the ceiling. You know, aunt and dad are nowhere around, of course. We did get them back very quickly. That was on a Friday, and Monday morning they were there. Narrowly, you know, did not go to jail. I was appalled. I thought this child has been charged with one of the most serious offenses that this court ever sees. Has all of this going on. She herself, the child was herself a victim of a sexual assault, an aggravated sexual assault by an adult criminal in my court. And then this, you take her shoes. You know, that was a really, really tough thing to happen. But anyway, now I will leave you on another happy note. We'll get you back up here again. Everybody be just dragging out of here saying, this is the saddest meeting. We had a group of ladies come and observe drug court one afternoon, and they wrote me back a letter. Dear, thank you for letting us sit here, you know, watch drug court. P.S. How could you send that young man to jail? He was so cute. So cute gets you usually into more trouble than non-cute does. But anyway, anything else? Any other questions? Come anytime. DWI court 5 o'clock on Mondays. Juvenile court is 9 o'clock on Fridays. Yes, ma'am. He had to, actually, I did send him to jail, now that I remember. I did. I had jurisdiction over him. I didn't have any over the aunt. He had signed an order affecting parents and others, agreeing to support this child and to do things that were whatever. He did go to jail. Never mind. Aunt didn't, and I'm positive she had something to do with it.
Did you take his shoes off of him?
Very good. Yes, sir.
What happens with an 11-year-old girl that she's been a victim, now she's...
You're not going to believe it. I did not believe this. I'm going to tell you, the counseling program there is unbelievable, so unbelievable that I had a luncheon and brought them all, the counselors here, to really explain to me how this is possible. The recidivism rate, the rate at which these young sex offenders will reoffend, is almost non-existent. The counseling, I don't know if it's because that frontal lobe has not been fully developed. I don't know what's happening, but the counseling is, across the United States, unbelievably successful. Sex offender counseling for those children is amazing. They do go on to lead healthy lives. They do not, as far as we've been able to track, very, very rarely does one ever reoffend. in the adult criminal thing, it's exactly the opposite. They are forever, we've
She's
lost
a
them.
minor, so it won't wind up on her record. I mean, she's not a registered sex offender.
Well, there are provisions where they have to, sometimes that's deferred and put off until they finish the counseling and a certain period of time has passed. But they could have to do that. But anyway, but that is truly an amazing thing that I could not believe until they all explained to me how that's possible. Watch your insurance companies, they're very smart. You know, the insurance rate goes down for young men at 25, 26, 25, and for girls at 21. They do extreme research, and the frontal lobe of that brain that controls the impulse control and all those sorts of things is not fully developed in men. They say 25, I might say 35. On up there, sorry, Jim. And in girls, I'm positive it's by 21 and very well established. Girls are good, but anyway, so I don't ask a juvenile, what were you thinking? They weren't thinking. So that's the look that they would give you if you asked. That would be an honest look. They have no clue what they were thinking. They weren't thinking. So anyway, a lot of the counseling is to give themselves time to think before they act, before they do anything, because the way to control behavior is truly with the thoughts first, and that's how they try to work with them. Anything else? Any other sunshiny report I can give you that will depress you?